president of the Westfield Art Association. The Art Association in Westfield started in 1922, so we're now over 100 years old. I've been the president for about a year now, and I'm trying to bring it forward to the next 100 years. But real special thanks to Alan McGinley because he's been so helpful in his collaboration with our Art Association. We've also started a Visual Arts for Seniors program. So every other Sunday starting in February, and it's going to go through this whole year, artists in our Art Association are teaching classes, and it's free to seniors. So they've all sold out, you know, it's free, but they've sold out every time, and the maximum number has come every session. So we're running that through this year. We got a grant for that from Union County, right, Alan? Yep. Yeah, Union County. So
and the Friends of the Library as well.
And the Friends of the Library, yeah, which are, you know, they're always, there's like the board that runs things. They're so helpful. But Alan and I have thought of a lot of things, and we're so excited about this Artist in Residence program. And actually, Jenn is the perfect person to start it, so I'm so glad she was selected by the board of the Art Association, and the committee included Alan from the library. The one thing I did want to say a little bit about the Artist in Residence program before we get into tonight's an artist spotlight, so it's really all about Jennifer and her vision and what she's done. But the Artist in Residency program we're hoping is going to continue. It's right now Jennifer's session is these 3 months, so it's May 1st through July 31st, and then her work will stay up for the following 3 months, and then we'll have another artist in residence starting in November. And we're hoping that if it's successful, it'll keep going. And we're trying, the goal, you know, we're just starting out now, but the goal is to introduce local artists to people in the community. And people in the community who are interested in art can talk to an artist, see what it's like, you know, instead of it being this magic that goes on in a studio somewhere. Artists are real people, right, Toma? So, and it's good to see how things are done. And everybody's so different. You'll hear in tonight's conversation, I'm amazed by her process because it's so different than mine as an artist. Like, she's more like fancy and stylish, and I'm a slob. So it's like, yeah. But no, it's just very different. So it'll be interesting if you see these over time to see the differences in both artwork and style, as well as the process and what motivates each artist. So Jennifer tonight, she's the first artist in residence, and that involves a number of things. The whole concept that Alan and I came up with was there would be 3 sessions that were free to the public, and actually Jenn is doing 4 sessions. So this is the first one. It's an artist spotlight, who she is, what she does. It would introduce people to the art if you saw it out in the hallway in the gallery out there, as well as when you come in the front door, and just introduced her to the public. Anybody online can also look. The next group of sessions, Jenn is doing 2 of them, is teaching art to the public. So she's going to do a kids class as well as an adults class. I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, but and so really that's going to be free for the public to come do hands-on art. And then the 3rd session is going to be, well, how she does her process, how she does this, besides just in video. She's going to talk about her whole process, which is, I always find, I guess because I'm an artist too, I find fascinating in what people think about, what motivates them, how they find their references, how they get their ideas. All that is fascinating to me. So that'll be the 3 sessions, as well as her artwork being out here throughout the residency. So turn it over to you. So before we get into your whole art thing, you know, like the art, that's the focus. Tell us a little more. I know a lot of people here know you, but for the people online and the people who don't know you as well, tell a little bit more about you as a person besides your art.
Okay, well, first of all, thank everybody for coming tonight. A little bit about me. Well, I live in Westfield. I have 2 kids, a husband, and I am also a graphic and web designer. I've had my own company for more than about 20 plus years now. I started my career, I have a degree in graphic design, and I started my career in advertising for the most part, and I worked at some of the bigger ad agencies in the city for about 10, 12 years. I transitioned from paper advertising to electronic media pretty early on, probably about maybe 2 or 3 years after I started in the advertising industry. I was one of the first internet art directors for Ogilvy and Mather and for a couple other agencies. I worked on big clients like IBM. IBM was one of the first people to be online on the internet, and they required a lot of specialists at the time who could bring art to the web. So that's kind of how my career evolved. I was one of the early adopters in that space, and so once the internet started becoming more popular and more people started working in that space, I had already had like 4 or 5 years experience. So after a few years, I kind of got a little bit tired of working the grinds for advertising, and my son was born, and I decided to start my own business. So I started out freelancing for those same agencies that I had jobs at, and had a lot of art directors in the field who I worked with outside, and then I kind of started getting my own clients, and I did a lot of, and then I moved here, and I have a lot of local clients. So I actually have the Friends of the Westfield Memorial Library is actually one of my clients. I do their website, I do their advertising work. I have a lot of other local clients here in town as well, and I still have a few corporate clients. So my work is varied like that. During the pandemic, there wasn't a lot of work going around, and so I decided to just do some things for myself. And then the Westfield had their call for artists for the Butterfly project that was downtown, and I decided to make a submission, and I submitted one that's very similar to the Love Butterfly that you'll see outside and around the library, and they accepted me as one of the 30 artists, Darrin as well, and I got to make one of those big butterflies. And that got me thinking, should I just keep going?
Yeah.
So, and that got me thinking about, I kind of was really into pop art, and because my butterfly was sort of pop art based, I was trying to decide what to do. I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to just make a butterfly that looked like a butterfly. So, and that's kind of got me thinking about like what I could do with pop art, because I love color, and the way that I created that butterfly is very in line with my ideas about graphic design. Graphic design is very...
Yeah, I was gonna ask you,
Yeah.
did the graphic design world like put that in your mind when you saw the butterfly?
Well, the butterfly itself didn't put the graphic design thing in my mind. I wanted to like sort of depart from the grid system that is graphic design, but not, I don't know how to explain it.
Sense, yeah.
But I feel like the way that I designed that particular butterfly, it kind of is broken up into compartments, and it does have the way that the black lines kind of cut through it is very graphic design-y. However, the colors and the busyness of it and everything, and how that all kind of came together is not so graphic design, right? And so
That's the pop art.
right. So, and it kind of felt good to like not be stuck in the box, But graphic design does heavily influence the way that I go about creating this new art that I'm doing, because I have a system,
Mm-hmm.
and graphic design is very system
process.
oriented,
Yep,
it's process oriented. So I spend a lot of time balancing colors and balancing the shapes and that kind of thing. It takes me, I do the color scheme, and then I walk away, and the next day I come back and I change all the colors again, and because I need to feel comfortable. Like graphic design too, when you do a layout, you want people's eyes to travel you want them to, you need to communicate, and you need to make whatever you're doing palatable to whoever's looking at it, because you want to get your message across. And so I kind of take that same approach to the artwork. But it's also like, at the same time, I want it to be crazy, and I want it to be colorful, and because I don't always get to do that with clients.
Yeah. Now, did you have an interest in pop art before that, the art takes flight?
I did. I mean, I do like pop art. I like other kinds of art too. Like, I love.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I love Impressionism. I love other types of art, and but just, I just like am drawn to these brighter colors, you know, I can see things are evolving. Like, I am evolving. Like, I started with the butterflies, which is a whole process in itself. That they're made out of metal. They're all engineered to like stay on the wall or stand up, and that even just creating the base of the butterfly before I even painted it is a whole process in itself. Like, it's an engineering problem that needed to be
Because it's
solved.
3D. It's not.
Yes, it's sculptural, and it has to. You know, like, it had to be sturdy, but it also had to be light, and it had to be engineered. And I have a great artist friend who can see things in 3 dimensions, and he was the one that was able to help me through many pandemic video calls and phone calls make these butterflies happen. He's also like an expert on, like, you know, the resin that is the center of the butterflies and how to put them together and what kind of glue to use. I mean, like, I didn't know any of this, you know. I'm like, I want to make a butterfly that like stands up. How do I do that? And he was like, oh, well, we need to do this. I mean, there was a lot of steps in the process. And so even before those butterflies get painted, they have like they need to be created on their own. So that's a whole process in itself that I really wasn't expecting, but it was actually enjoyable to like just to see how they were made. You know?
Right.
So.
And it must be different to paint on a 3D sculpture.
Yeah,
so
it's not flat, so that's hard too. Yeah.
Yep.
And,
especially if you're doing lines. Right?
And you have to consider both sides, right?
Yes.
So, you know, when you're working on the flat canvas, you don't have to consider the back. But on these, I really felt it was important to consider the back. And so that's how these have, the black and white is sort of the opposite, you know, it's all the no color side almost, you know, so that gives your eye like a rest, but it's actually the same design on both sides, but they look totally different. You know, so you can observe those butterflies from both sides. Even the ones that hang on the wall outside, the backs are painted as well, so that if you were going by like and seeing it on the wall and you're like parallel to the wall, you do see the back. So.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you have to think that through. What
yes.
You did. Yeah. So just on pop artists, are there any like names that people would know that you like or that you've seen in person?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that my work reminds me of Romero Brito. Who, you know, is very popular in Florida. Yes, I do. I mean, yes, he is an influence on me because I looked at a lot of his work and I love his color scheme, and he does use the dots and the black lines and the thing. I think my aesthetic is a little more complex than what he does. And also, like, you know, I also love Roy Lichtenstein, always loved him.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a big one too. I really like the whole comic strip thing and the dots and how, and also that has to do with printing, which being a graphic designer is very into printing. He uses the Ben-Day dots, and when you go close up on a printed piece with a loop, you can see the dots. And so, old school before digital, I used to go on press with my projects, and I'd have to use one of those loops to make sure that all those dots lined up on top of each other so that the photo was registered, and that's where all the dots
the details,
yes.
Yeah. Wow. Now, do you have a way that you, like if you're thinking of a piece and you're trying to come up with references, do you go online, do you use Pinterest, do you use Instagram, like?
I mean, I start with Google sometimes.
Right. No, that's fair.
And but sometimes I have like an idea inside my head, and I'll go to like the stock photography sites or looking at other illustrations to help get my ideas. a lot of times I do I use royalty-free illustrations that I get online, and I take like, you know, if it's a face, I like the eyes from this one, and I like the shape of the lips from this one, and I'll put those together or draw them together. Sometimes there's no point in reinventing the wheel. Like I found a pair of lips that I like on this one, so but I need a different head, so I might draw the head myself, and then, you know, like we're on a different shape of something, and I kind of piece it together in Illustrator. So I do work, I do everything on my computer first. I work in Illustrator on my computer. Sometimes I sketch first, but sometimes I have an idea, I don't know how I want to lay it out, and I'll need to sketch it. So I use Post-it notes usually, because that's on my desk. And I'll like sketch it out really tiny, and then figure out how I want the layout.
That's a true thumbnail.
Yes, tiny. And then I'll go back to my computer to figure out how I want to lay it out. And then I'm never happy with that. I always want to give it a twist. So like I usually don't like center the object in the center of the piece. It's off to the side, or it's cropped somehow. Because I'm trying to bring a little bit of surprise to the piece. So I think things through, like, how can I make this different? Like the Ahava one that's outside, the new one that I just finished.
Right.
I had a totally different design for that. Like I had all the letters going across, and then, you know, I sent it to my friend, the one that makes the butterflies, and he was like, it's not that surprising. I think you can do better. So I was like, you're right, I can do better. So I wasn't gonna produce it. Like I really wasn't. I was like, I wasn't happy, and I sent him, I'm like, really not happy with this. And he's like, yeah, you're right, you shouldn't be happy with it. So I rethought it through and came up with a different, more exciting. When I sent it back to him, I'm like, how about this? And he's like, that's the one, you know?
You know,
So,
that's a really important thing for those of you who are not artists, and I think a lot of us who are artists need a person or multiple people who can critique you, and where you don't take it personally, but you know, you really need that. You need someone else to look at, especially if you're really close. So by having that person for you is fantastic.
yeah.
And I know I have that too. Like you send it to them, and they just say something that people would be appalled by, but it's good. You need it.
Yeah.
And so you did bring up that piece that you've done while you were here, which I think is interesting, because Alan and I had talked about this when we first came up with the concept. Is originally we were going to have that wall blank for the artist in residency, and only pieces that were created while the artist was in residence would be put up there. But I think having your pieces all, you know, it's so awesome because everybody can see your style, and then you put up a new piece that you've done while you're here, it's even more special, so to speak, you know. So how has it been? Because actually Jenn does art here during the week, actually does her art in the library. So how has that been? Tell us a little bit about it.
It's actually been really fun. I mean, it's kind of weird for me not to be able to just like set out my paints when I feel like it, because I'm keeping all of my paints and everything here in the library, so it's all stored here. And I come in on Tuesdays and Saturdays to paint. So I'm here Tuesday afternoons from 3:30 to 5:30, and then Saturday mornings from 10 to 1. So it's really only like 6 hours of painting a week. And I did start that one outside. I'd only laid down a little bit of yellow before I brought it in, and so I basically did the entire piece here in the library.
Now have people come by while you're doing it?
So Saturday morning is actually very popular because a lot of the kids are here, and I have coloring pages, so I asked them if they want to create art with me. So I'm like, do you guys want to make some art while I paint? And they're actually really excited to do that. So I have coloring pages. I'm supposed to get better with crayons because the crayons aren't so great. But the kids are complaining about lack of colors. But yes, so I've been able to engage with a lot of people because they see me there painting, and some people are afraid to come by, but I'm always like, come on over, like, come talk to me.
Now, are those coloring pages your stuff you created?
So yeah, I mean, one is the butterfly, which is actually
Right.
the template that I used to create my butterflies. It's the original drawing.
That's really cool.
Just the black and white drawing. And then I have, and the heart that I think is seen up there, the outline of that heart is there. And I'm hoping to add a couple more. So I'll add some more when we come back for the next Saturday. And On Tuesdays, not as many people. I actually get some good painting time in, but the light over by that window is really great, and so I actually enjoy like painting over there.
That's great.
But I have a few people on the Tuesday afternoons, and
Now, have you had older? I know kids are more willing to come up, but have you had older
well, I'm
people
in the
come up?
adult section, so that's kind of good. So the adults come by to like look at their books, and sometimes they'll come over and talk to me. And I actually met one of the seniors who does the Sunday program and says she loves it. And I said,
Oh,
do you interested in, do you do art on your own? She's like, no, I've never done art before, but I'm having so much fun. It's something to do. And she said she's excited to like come and participate. So I said, oh, that's so nice. Like, she's like, yeah, we're painting all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, what kind of things? So we had a nice conversation about that.
We are really lucky to be in a town like this, I have to say, because politics and crazy personalities aside, we have a public art, people that care about public art. And like Jen and I have been in a bunch of programs. I mean, if you want to tell people about some of the programs that, besides the Art Takes Flight, which was 30 butterflies during the pandemic to get people out and looking at art outside, there was other projects. And I know you know.
So Darrin and I have, our art is almost right next to each other in the Rialto alleyway that goes from East Broad Street to the parking lot right next to the theater. He has this shark that like comes out of the wall, which is kind of cool, and I have my creative coffee spill there. So if you're ever walking through there, both of our artwork is there. I also have a piece on the Central Avenue underpass, which is the two hands that are, I think there's a picture of it in this slideshow, but there are two hands that are upside down. And I did sort of like a Jackson Pollock in the background of that, because, with my modern art thing. And then in Tamaulipas Park, in the barbecue pavilion on the floor, is this huge Westfield compass. The W is the Westfield W. It points north. It actually does point north. I had to like turn the compass so it points in the right direction. But yeah, it's on the floor of the barbecue pavilion.
And I think with the popularity of Adams Fest and
Yes.
and painting windows downtown, which is fun for everybody, including us who do it, but for people that walk around and even the proprietors of all the stores and the restaurants love it. And I did one this year that you did last year, so they're like, you better live up to her standard. So, yeah, no, I mean, and people know the artist now, so certain stores request. I hear you requested a lot over places. So.
So I did the octopus this year, which I think someone else did an octopus as well, but I didn't know that when I was doing the creatures. But they turned out totally different, which was fine. And the other one I have that's been up for almost 3 years now is the one at the Westfield Animal Hospital.
Oh, right.
The dog and the cat are in the window there. So I'm waiting for
That's where we take our dogs. It's fantastic.
So that's been there for a while now. So I'm sure it's like stained on the window now. But I love doing that. I'm going to do it for the library as well. So for the summer reading.
And you're also going to do a library card.
Yes, I'm very excited about the library card. I'm going to get started on that.
It's going to be a special issue library card that's going to have Jen's artwork on it. So that'll be part of the artist in residence bonus.
Art to be determined.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is.
Yeah.
And there's the compass.
That's the compass. Yeah.
So just a couple.
There's the window. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. It's like in order. Like you thought of all that. So when you're not here doing art, I'm always interested in how artists work. Like, is there do you listen to music? What time of day? Do you work during the day? Do you work during the night?
I'm mostly during the day because that's when I have more quiet time. Sometimes if I'm really into something or I have to finish something, I'll keep working until I finish it. Sometimes I get in the zone and I just don't want to stop. And during the pandemic, I had a lot of that time where I was kind of in the zone and I just needed to get it all out. And I do listen to music. I vary the music, but I mostly like to listen to things I could sing along to, because I kind of feel like the music kind of goes back in the back of my head, like it's just there. It's there to like helps me stay in the zone. Like I don't get distracted by the quiet, if that makes sense. I need that. I've always needed that, the music, whenever, even when I was in college, or I always had music. We always had music playing because I think it just helps the creative process flow.
Yeah. Now, have you ever, I'm interested, have you ever tried to listen to either podcasts or audiobooks while you're doing art?
I can't, because I can't focus on both.
I tried it recently because my wife listens to audiobooks constantly, like 2 a week. And I tried it, and all of a sudden I was like, wait, 3 hours just went by, I have no idea what happened.
I love to read, and I would love to, like, sometimes when I walk the dog, I might listen to my book if it has an audio component to it. But I love to read, but I love that separate, that's like separate time for me. I need to focus on the words. I can't focus on the words and on the art at the same time. So I think a lot of times when you're creating art, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but like, I get, like, I'm like, my brain is like, kind of, the flow is there. I need to like, make it happen, and I can't make it happen when someone else is talking to me. You know, like I need to focus, and the music kind of helps you, because that helps you like tune in. It's there, and I'll sing along, but my brain is still moving with the colors. I think
you're on autopilot. Back.
Yeah. So, and you know, and then if the music isn't helping me, I just change the station, you know, or listen to something else. And I do, it depends sometimes, like, I mean, I'll pick different genres if I need to, like, kickstart something else. So sometimes I'll, like, you know, I'll put on, like, some other, like, I don't know, like, that, like, spa type of music or something, you know, like, that kind of gets you in the zen mood.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I'm like, okay, this is not working, and I'll, you know, do something else. But sometimes it kind of helps, like, your mind to wander, especially if I'm, like, looking for ideas. But most of the time when I'm like creating something and I already have the idea going, I'll just put on music that I like, and I'll just keep going with that.
Now, have you ever had, during a piece, when you get to the point where you want to throw it out the window, or?
Well, yeah, so like the first time I was doing the Hobbit thing, I was like, I know I want to make this happen. I know how to make it happen. I had all the patterns in, but I just didn't have the right order. I didn't have the right scale, and I was like, ugh, just, you know, I put it aside, and I probably have like at least 4 or 5 started ideas on my computer that I just put aside and I want to come back to later.
Boy, that's good to
know. I do throw out a lot of ideas right away, but with graphic design too, like sometimes you do a layout and you're just like, oh, that's not gonna work, and then so like I'm used to throwing stuff away. I'm like, especially when you're
you
designing.
Don't let it bother you. You let it. You
No,
push it out of your head. That's good.
That's good. Sometimes I'm like, I need to like, I have to make this work, and then you get frustrated by having to make something work. And sometimes I just feel like, all right, I'm just gonna, you know, start over, you know, or pick one element that I liked about the layout that I had and use that. And, you know, and I ask myself questions like, should it be bigger? Should it be smaller? Should it be on the left? Should it be on the right? Do I need to? And then once I start doing that and I start moving it around, then I can say, oh, then I can see it coming together.
So now, since you have a very defined process from your design background, or just the way you produce things, do you have those happy accidents that a lot of artists have? You do.
I do, yeah. I mean, that's like a totally Bob Ross thing.
Yeah. I think that's probably where I got it.
Yeah. So, you know, yeah. Sometimes like I just happen to like put something somewhere, and I'm like, ooh, you know, like, or you know, we were talking today earlier about I'm working on some ideas for the adult class, and you know, that's an all levels type of class, and I want to make sure that everyone who comes in leaves successful. And so like I was working with some ideas, and I just happened upon this one thing, and then I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and then I just kept working on it, and now I want to make it into a piece. So like I wasn't intending, that wasn't my intention. My intention was to come up with some imagery that I could bring into the class to help whoever is taking the class be successful. But then I was like, oh, this could be successful for me too. And
it is a cool look. So once you're done, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
That's a future surprise.
Right. So that's how things, and also like how I wasn't sure when I started this if the work was going to evolve. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just keep doing what I'm doing now. Like, I feel like every piece I do, like, I evolve a little bit. I'm going in a different direction. And I think this new piece too is kind of going in a new direction for me too.
Yeah.
So
Definitely without the black. That's definitely
Yeah.
a big change. Yeah. Is there anything you want to say about the Artist in Residence program coming up for everybody that could possibly attend future events?
So I actually have, and we didn't really talk about the process, but the next talk that I'm going to give will be in July, towards the end of July, and that is going to be about how specifically I create each piece. And I've been documenting the next piece I'm working on in the library. I've been documenting from when I started creating it. Like, I've been screenshotting it on my computer to show the evolution and how I did make a big mistake and then had to go back and start over again. And so I've been documenting that too, because that was one that I sent my friend and he was like, yeah, no, like that. So, but I kept it because I want to show how, like, I tried something and it didn't work out, and so that's also important too. So I documented all of that, and then I'll be painting, that piece is already now in production, so I'll be painting that here in the library. But how I get my piece from my computer to the canvas is what I'll be talking about in the next lecture.
Teaser.
The teaser.
Yep.
And I'm also doing, and we talked about the kids workshop that's coming up on June 15th. And that will be a metal butterfly project. So we're trying to elevate the kids' programs, this kids' workshop to match, I guess, the artist in residence.
Yeah,
And so
that's great.
in order to do that, they have to do stuff with metal. So I created a cute project for that. And we talked about maybe doing a little pop art lesson as well for the kids.
Yeah, that one I have a feeling is going to sell out very quickly. So.
And then
And it's free.
right. And the adult workshop is going to be on July 15th,
I don't know.
something like that. I think it's a Wednesday night in July. Anyway, it's on the website. And that will be, that we're going to do a metal canvas. And that's for adults. It doesn't matter your level. You just want to come and do it. That's what I've been working on, that project. And so that should be a lot of fun. I actually think that's almost sold out already.
Oh, wow. Great.
And I'm in the library. Same for June. My schedule is so far still Tuesdays and Saturdays. And July I haven't figured out. I think I might add an extra day in July just because I'll have more time to come. June's a very busy month. And I think that's it.
Okay.
So-
And all of your artwork here is for sale, right?
All of my art is for sale. Everything is also on my website, which you can just scan the QR code. It will take you straight, but it's jenniferwilner.com. It's really not hard to
Yeah.
my name. And yes, everything's for sale. A hub has just been put up. I haven't even priced it yet. But you can always contact me if you have questions. And then
Yeah, for anybody online, like you can look at her stuff online, or if you want her to do a commission, or you know,
right,
she could do
I
a
have done
specific
commissions
piece.
before, yes. And also in the back of the room tonight, and I might open up to the library as well, is I did a piece back there that I ran a contest for earlier on Instagram. Only one person guessed correctly, and I did not share it, but my husband did just now, which we won't talk about. But if you didn't hear it and you'd like to take a look at it in the back, it's Name That Tune. The picture is a popular song. And if you figured it out, you can write your guess down and put it in. And the winners will either get a hand-embellished butterfly print as when you walked in, or $150 off any piece that you like to purchase. So.
Well, that's great. Now, does anybody, we said that we could open this up for questions. Does anybody have any questions? I know we've been going for a long time, but Jen and I could talk about this stuff for a long time. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask her? Go ahead.
Anyway, I want to keep going. One of the things I think is interesting as I have known you for a bit and watched you evolve is you do like color, that's consistent across your work. But how do you find yourself seeing the locations? I've been watching your slideshow for a bit. You do seem to capture the essence of the people you're talking to. You have, even if it's from you, it feels like you're talking to an audience. You're communicating. You can feel it. Do you ever, like, even in your art for the downtown area, like, how do you sort of come up with the characters, the personality, the expressions? Like, you're very communicative, in my opinion, with the art that you do. It is way off track, and just cut it off. But I'm curious how like, this is a great example. Like, there's a point of view of almost like someone speaking to you or the dancing. It's very, to me, speaking. How do you sort of figure that out?
Well, one thing I like is, I mean, I'm glad you asked this question. I'm not really 100% sure how to answer because I think some of it just comes in. Like, for the windows, you have to I consider the location first of all, like who is going by, right? Like, so the octopus was for the smoothie place, right? And so that is a very popular corner in downtown Westfield, and the window space is quite large. And so I had to consider, like, first of all, I like to work big. Like, I like in your face big. I think it has more impact. And so the problem with those smoothie place is that it has the green stripe that goes across every window, which kind of cuts my image space in half, you know? So I wanted whatever work that I did there, first of all, I wanted to cover all the windows because that has the most impact, especially in that corner when you approach it from 3 sides. But also it's a smoothie place, and like a lot of younger kids, like the high school kids all go there. People go after their workouts, they're all in there, and I know because I was out there for quite a few days, what the audience is. So not only did I want to, the theme for last year was creatures, wild creatures or something. So I wanted to pick a wild creature, but I also kind of wanted to get the essence of the smoothie place like there. So some of his tentacles are like holding the smoothies, and because, you know, that speaks to their business too, because that's something you also have to consider. And they wanted to bring their business, you know, to that window. And so I think that's kind of like how I approach it. Like I actually approach it from like a graphic design problem. Like everything to me is like a problem solving thing. I don't know, maybe Roz knows too, but it's, you know, like I have to consider, like the same way I consider the back of the butterflies, like I consider all sides. So, I mean, it's an interesting question, like it's hard to answer, but yes, I do consider the audience. And when I create my work too, like I'm not necessarily considering I do consider who's gonna see it, but I'm just doing it for me. Like the dancer is a good one. I had been to Spain before I created that too, so that kind of was in my mind when I was looking at pictures I took in Spain. You know, that kind of influenced that too. But like a dancer is in motion, like. So like I wanted the piece to be in motion. Like a lot of flamenco dancers just like stand up and cross their legs, you know, but like I wanted to make her move because I think that's how the dancer feels that's what she would be doing, you know. Whereas if you just took a snapshot of her, she might just be standing still, but I wanted to capture the motion. So that's another thing I consider too. And like I was saying before, like I do try and like put a twist on everything, so that's why the Ava piece didn't work out, because I didn't twist it, and my friend was trying to say, duh, you didn't put your spin on it, so I need to spin it, and I think it came out better. So so I try to like get rid of the mundane ideas first, and that allows me to like open up to like something better, you know.
And it could be you're putting your vision and your like feeling into your art piece, and you're hearing it. You're receiving what she's putting out there. So.
But I'm also doing this for myself, you know, which is different than, you know, creating art for, you know, doing graphic design, because I'm creating it for someone else. You know, I'm communicating for someone else. I have a client. This client has certain objectives, so I have to fulfill those objectives. But when you do it for yourself, like, I have my own objectives, and I just do whatever, like what I feel works for me. So I know it's not always successful, but when it is, like, it's great because I walk away and I go, I really like this, you know. So, and you know, like especially when I send all these pictures via text to my friend, you know, he's like, you know, you hit it, you know. And then I know I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this one because like it came out really good. So I feel it at the end. So
Yeah, that's great. Does anybody else have any questions? Well, thanks everybody for coming. There are refreshments on the table. I'm sorry we took so long, but it was very interesting. Thank you so much.
Started a little late.
We did get started. And thank you, Alan, for